Thanks for joining, everybody. I think every time we plan one of these, it's nearly always on someone's holiday. So I think last week it was Last time was Independence Day in Netherlands, I think, and then this week it's just before 4th of July holidays. I'm not sure how many of our American friends will make it. I see Angela there, but nice to see you guys and Mark as well. Um, this is, I think, the sixth of our data therapy sessions. And this one I just thought would be interesting. It feels to me like the start of the season of the big travel events. We've got GBTA planning in full works, Business Travel Show last week, Travel Show Americas following that, and then GBTA Europe, all within a few months of each other. So I thought it'd be good as the first big ones out the way to share some of the thoughts of what I found from the show this time, maybe some themes that have come out. I've asked John to attend. John's our COO. Wanted him. He was around as well for both days. Just thought I'd ask him a couple of questions, and as well as we go through, just to share some of his feedback. Just a reminder, this is being recorded. We'll send a link out afterwards, and we do post extracts of it on LinkedIn. You're welcome to put your cameras on, but equally, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But either way, you'll get a link through afterwards, so you can watch this wonderful show again. It's also on YouTube, and you can be the second person apart from my mum to watch them. But this is so. Then, without further ado, let me share my screen and reflect a bit on the Business Travel Show 2026, particularly with a data focus, of course. There's us on our people stand. So I did a bit of a tour of the stand. I'm just kind of making notes of the different exhibitors that were there. And I think there was around 200 exhibitors, and a very rough estimate would say there's at least 30 of those were selling data as a core product, i.e. not just an element of what they do like a TMC, but this is what the thing that they do predominantly is data. So from the likes of, from us, Predictex, the kind of more analytical, whole program analytics type things, quite a lot more specialist, whether that's audit tools or CO2 reporting or trying to predictive around what the fares might do in the future. The kind of plumbing stack, so they're trying to join the bits and pieces together. We've seen a few more AI native companies. So this is where relatively young new companies who are doing something very specialist, working on a particular solution. And then the kind of risk guys who are selling some of it's about solution, but equally it's about identifying the risks. So I thought it was just interesting to think how many of those organizations are selling data as not just a category or something within their lineup, but actually as the key thing in what they did. And I just see that this list's growing and growing, whether that's more specialists or more people in my space. But it's kind of an interesting thing. I was scrolling through some of the news, looking at some of the press releases that came out and some of the surveys that were out this time. And this one from BTN launched themselves, actually, that said, of all of the things that are on the minds of corporate travel buyers, nearly half ranked the top thing as being the geopolitical instability. Which then a good question there. How many of those are using AI to solve any of those problems today or address those risks? Only 10% of those people were using some kind of AI to address it, which I think is really interesting, this kind of credibility gap. And the worry from those participants was that the risk of getting it wrong was too much of a barrier to really implementing a good solution. So I just thought it's kind of interesting. I've taken that as a bit of a theme, maybe a little bit through this very short presentation. And the thing that I thought was interesting is that without that data foundation, that was a quote from the travel manager for Signify there. Without getting that kind of good data layer in, then there's a limit to which AI can actually really do some of the exciting possible things that are out there. Another thing that picked up, CTM, which is a UK, predominantly UK, I think, and Australia as well, but travel agency, they brought out their program scoring metrics with Timoji, which is Paul Tilstone's organization. And I kind of picked out the data elements of that. It's just kind of interesting. I was surprised by how low on the 300 participants who completed that survey they were sitting. So most people were kind of a 2 point something score. I just thought that was, I would would have imagined that in this day, you never know who they've surveyed clearly, but my thought would have been that more people would be getting towards the 4 and the 4.5 level in terms of how they would rate their own program maturity. This would suggest there's still a lot to do, and particularly with regards to data. How do you actually turn it from being just a control mechanism into something that's proactively and intelligently driving solutions? So I think is surprising, but I guess lots of opportunities to do some things. I think it's getting easier than ever to do that. Next thing, do you know that at the Business Travel Show they do those innovation face-offs? We did it maybe 3 or 4 years ago in the US, but they now do it in more places attached to the show. The two winners I saw were I don't know if it's Akai or Akai, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And nowadays won the Business Travel Show Americas. I think some of you there, Angela, I think might have been there. They won the same thing back in New York back in October, November last year. Well, what I thought was interesting about both of those things is that they were really making an AI-based workflow. So they weren't selling an AI solution, but it's more how they use AI to join bits up. Now, how does it? So for Akai, it was more around how do you put data through that booking process, and for nowadays, it was around the super smart young ladies who were doing something around meetings and how do you book venues and negotiate and all those kind of things, but just making AI the process rather than AI the product. I thought that was kind of interesting. Not really an AI front end, but more of an AI joining up of things. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Last slide, I think I'll just show you here. Oh, and that was the end. Perfect. Good. So yeah, it's kind of a few reflections about, and I just wonder, John, if I could bring you in here. You obviously spoke to, I don't know, 50, 100 people during the 2 days of the show. And any themes that you pulled out as part of your conversations or you found people sharing?
Yeah, the most common topic, interestingly, was leakage. So kind of the people I spoke with, there's kind of a broad agreement that employees are trying to think they're doing the right thing, but actual fact it's not. They think they're doing the best thing, but it's not the right thing. So frustrations with the people I spoke with was a lack of visibility on supplier spend, supplier deals, those kind of things. Um, Lots of frustration with finance teams not sharing expense data. So that literally, you've got travel managers that are just completely blind to what's happening outside the TMC. And then interestingly, duty of care came up as linked to leakage, which I thought was a new facet that I hadn't thought about before. So yeah, leakage predominantly down.
Interesting. So it's kind of an age-old problem spoken about for years, but still resurfacing for many organizations. So I'm surprised maybe AI wasn't the kind of the big leader that you were talking about. That
Yeah, yeah, the same. So AI didn't come up at all. I think I demoed Una, our AI tool, to one person who's interested. But yeah, it didn't come up. It didn't come up. Hardly come up. We had a lot of material about the AI that we use on the stand, so it could be that the people had read that. But didn't come up. I don't know if it's AI fatigue. Is the novelty wearing off? Is it assumed that AI is just integrated everywhere now? But very much low down the agenda with the people I spoke with the companies I spoke with.
Yeah, really. So Andre's marketing person will be very upset. We put a lot of effort into getting all our AI branding and tech stuff out. So it's a shame for the next one, maybe. Yeah, I don't know whether maybe someone's got some comments on that in the chat. Be interesting. Do you think is it just an assumed element already, AI? Therefore, we don't need to ask about it because we assume it's already there, or is there other reasons as to why maybe it doesn't come up as often? Maybe have a think about that. So yeah, good feedback, John. Anything else? Sort of parting comments from you before I'll open it up to the floor in a second if there's any other questions.
No, not specifically. The one thing is to ask people to consider that duty of care around leakage. You don't know
Yeah,
if people do book out the channel. You don't know where they are.
yeah.
That's a really nice thing. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
No, perfect. Good. Thanks, John. Really appreciate that. Thanks for, and we'll get John to do a data therapy some point in the second half of the year, if if we can. Let me just check that poll quickly. So if you've got any other questions or things you want to comment on or ask, then this would be a good time. We've got 3 or 4 minutes left. Got a question here from Drew. Once we identify the leakage, what actions do you recommend? Yeah, it's an interesting one. So we've got a couple of clients we've been working with at the moment where we've been going through some quite detailed leakage reporting. Identifying who and why, trying to understand why. But the thing we keep pushing them to say, so now what you're going to do, you're actually going to contact them, is what's the kind of outcome. So I think one of the things you find is often the worst offenders are generally the most senior people, not the junior people. It's probably a bit of a rule of thumb. You might not necessarily want to contact people. But one thing I did, we put a press release out over during the show actually, because we've done a partnership with the commission collection company. So we're using that leakage data to try and help companies get back commissions on the hotels that are booked outside of the travel agency. So it's really just very practical kind of outworking of that leakage data. Typically, I think John made the comment earlier on, it's generally not people doing the wrong thing. I think most people are trying to do the right thing. But yeah, but there's always education opportunities. A question from Mark: any different trends at GBTA next month? Do I expect any different trends? Generally, I'm sure there'll be more hype around AI. I'm sure there will be. I'd be very surprised if it's worn off already. Feels like we've got several years to run on this. So I'd expect that. I don't know whether the geopolitical side might come up a bit more. GBTA generally they love the more they're more involved with the regulation side of things than BTN would be. So I'm sure there'll be whole streams around this. I think they probably do quite a good job of getting more startups in. Generally, I found in my experience going back 5 or 6 years. So hopefully we'll see a few new things as well. If you look around the innovation zone, I'd like to think there might be some different companies. And I wonder whether that will be an AI front end. I'm not so sure, but whether it'd be more like that nowadays thing where we're just reinventing an old process that there's been problems with for a while with an AI sort of end-to-end solution rather than necessarily being about interacting with something. That would be something I would expect to see based on other industries and things I'm seeing. So last minute, any questions, anything else to let you know while if you're thinking about it? I'm happy to stay on. We'll answer some stuff at the end. We do these once a month, typically 20 or so people on. We get, but the next one will be after GBTA in mid to end of August. So we try and it's going to probably be 6 weeks rather than monthly. Just don't want to wait till after that event. We've got a lot of stuff to do before then to see what's coming, and then we'll start the year. So any themes or anything you want to run, we're always looking for people to provide feedback. And on that note, Andre has put something up there. So if you've got anything that you'd like us to focus on for our data therapies, we've done things on leakage, we've done things about doing different data sources. We've done things about what data consolidation really is. How do you use data more intelligently around reasons for travel and things. Anything that you would like us to feel free to add some points in there. Otherwise, I think we'll give it a wrap. Thanks everybody for lots of friendly people. Nice to see your names of all my friends as well. It's great to see you. Hope everything's going well for you, and we will catch up again in the not too distant future. Thanks, guys.